In this video, I'm going to tell you a little lie that nobody in the sport and tourism industry talks about. Hey, I'm Dr. Jennifer Stoll from Cimarron Global Solutions, and man, what I'm going to share with you today, I wish I had learned 20 years ago. And I actually got reminded of this little principle in a great conversation with a dear friend of mine in the industry just today. And it spurred me to say, you know what? Other people need to have these types of conversations. So we're going to dive in. What's the little lie, you might be asking? It's that what we do in the sport and tourism industry is not who we are. Let me say that one more time. What we do on the day to day in the sport and tourism industry is not who we are. In my conversation with a friend today, I'll keep her name nameless or his because you'll likely know this individual. But we had such a lovely conversation about the role that we play in this industry within our organizations, within our communities at large, and is honestly within the country. I was reminded during this conversation that it is very easy to get our identity tied to what we do in the sport and tourism industry. And hear me when I say, we get to work in an amazing industry. We get to work with fantastic people. We get to work in sport and tourism. Could it possibly get better? And we get to make a difference. All of those things are reasons that we all got in this industry, and it's what drives us. The old cliche about do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Well, I don't know about you, but that's true every day of my life in getting to work in this industry. We're totally blessed to be able to do that. But what happens as we move along in our life and our career changes, or we retire, or a new opportunity comes about, or maybe we have to step away from an opportunity we love? We've built a public persona, we've built a reputation, we've built a network in our communities and across the country. And that's why it's important not to associate your entire identity with what you do. Doesn't mean you can't love it. Hear me when I say that. Those are two separate things. But this is not mutually exclusive. These actually go together, right? And when we think about our identity as humans, part of that identity includes our role in the industry. But other parts of that identity include things like our hobbies, our passions, our family, those things that may not be evident across a trade show room floor. And it's only natural, right? Most of us have worked in sport or we're former athletes, so we're super competitive. We've got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. All of that is perfectly healthy. What I'm suggesting is that we just pay attention to the public, the professional, the persona that we portray in the industry versus our true identity. And how can you really tell the difference? Well, think about it this way. There's this great clip out of the classic movie Good Will Hunting where Will is sitting across from Robin Williams, who plays the psychologist, and he's talking about the idiosyncrasies of his late wife that were the things that only he knew about her, that made their love special and brought just a level of depth and connection that others didn't have with her or with him. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about here. When we're thinking about our true identity, what are those things about you that nobody else in the industry knows about? But the people that you go home to each night, the people that greet you when you come in from the road trip, those are the people that know you at the most intimate and in-depth levels. Your identity to them is very different from even your closest friends in the industry. And something I know that I experienced from starting the sports commission in Grand Junction is when I stepped away from that role, I was sort of at a loss. I backed up from the community profile that I had, which I really loved and enjoyed, but it changed the dynamic of some of my friendships in the community and things like that. And it scared me at first because I wasn't quite sure how to take it. But what I realized, and luckily I had set out with this mentality from the start, is that the sports commission was never about me. It was always about my community. So rather than looking back lamenting on the fact that I wasn't in the public eye, or I didn't have as many public facing friends, or I wasn't tied into the, what's happening in the community, now I get the greatest honor of all, which is to stand back and watch, in my case, Ben Snyder, who's awesome, take this little idea that I had from more than a dozen years ago and blossom it into something that is beyond even my wildest imagination. That to me is true legacy, right? We're doing these things to transform our communities, not for our own personal gain. So, that sense of servant leadership in your identity is really a core component to separating out from a healthy way your identity from what you do to who you are. So, a recommendation I have is to take some time and think about it. What are those things that you love to do that don't have anything to do with sport and tourism? Who are the people who are in your inner circle whose opinion you value the absolute most? Think about that, journal it, write about it, because there's going to come a time when you're not in the role that you're in anymore. And it may be a day, it may be a year, and it may be, 10 years. Either way, it's okay, but you want to be mentally prepared for what's next. That also gives you huge opportunity ahead, and it allows you to cultivate a growth mindset of flexibility and adaptability as well. It's not, again, to say anything that we're doing in the sport and tourism industry is wrong, or we can't have awesome friends, and they can't even be some of our best friends in the industry. I know mine are. But like my conversation with my friend today, it was really apparent to me that it was time to reflect, especially coming out of the new year, on identity. And knowing who I am as a person, knowing who you are as a person, and the role we're trying to serve in the community is worth your time and effort. So don't forget, take this advice. If you're new to the industry, remember, we get to do something really cool. And for that, we should be absolutely grateful. But what we do is not who we are.